Welcome to Passport to Sleep, a calming journey through real places and dreamy escapes. Let's begin tonight's story. The flight into Ålesund is short, low, and strangely intimate. The window frames a world of islands scattered like polished stones across a sea the colour of cold steel. Beneath us, the land rises in ribbons of green and black rock, tapering to inlets and fjords that mirror the overcast sky. Even from the air, Ålesund seems made of light and water, everything reflecting everything else, a town caught in its own quiet rhythm. We land in the afternoon, when the sky is a soft silver and the clouds hang low, draped over the peaks like linen drying in slow motion. The air smells of sea salt and damp stone. We step off the plane and into a hush. No bustle, no crowds, just the soft shuffle of other travellers and the distant call of seabirds wheeling somewhere far overhead. Our taxi winds through small villages and past grassy slopes where sheep graze in lazy clusters. As we cross the last bridge into town, the buildings begin to rise in gentle formation, pastel-coloured and turreted, lining narrow canals and quays. Ålesund doesn't shout. It hums. The architecture is unlike anything else in Norway. Elegant, decorative, touched by the dreaminess of Art Nouveau, but grounded in stone and water. We check into Hotel Brosunde, a converted warehouse perched right along the water's edge. The lobby is warm and spare, a blend of old maritime timber beams and clean Scandinavian design. There's a fire burning low in the iron hearth. A glass jar of dried apple slices sits on the counter beside a bowl of polished stones. Our room looks directly onto the harbour. The window, tall and wide, is already beaded with a fine mist. We open it just slightly and let the sound of gulls and water find us. Outside, the cobblestone streets are still wet from earlier rain. We walk slowly, coats buttoned high, scarves tight. Every building tells a story. Whimsical ironwork on balconies, faces carved into cornices, tiles in green and gold. After the Great Fire of 1904 destroyed much of Ålesund, the town was rebuilt almost entirely in the Art Nouveau style. More than 50 architects came together in a few short years, and what rose from the ashes was a fairy tale made of brick and stone. We paused to study the curve of a stairwell curling like a fern frond, the glass of a storefront glowing with hand-blown lamps and ceramic bowls. Each shop has its own personality, a baker's window filled with crusty loaves, a florist with hanging vines and eucalyptus bundles, a tiny bookstore with fogged glass and shelves leaning under the weight of old hardcovers. Lunch waits at Apotekergata number 5, just across the bridge from our hotel. The building was once a pharmacy, now transformed into a restaurant that still holds the elegance of its past. Inside, it smells of sea air, roasted root vegetables, and warm wood. We sit at a table beside the window, candles flickering in brass holders. The walls are hung with paintings of sea creatures, maps of forgotten coasts, old apothecary jars filled with lavender and black salt. We order the day's fish, caught hours ago, cod, delicately poached, served with pickled cucumber, crisp potato, and a sauce made of smoked butter and dill. There's rye bread on the side, dense and dark, with a pat of golden butter that melts into every bite. A glass of chilled apple cider finishes the meal, tart and effervescent, tasting of orchards just beyond the fjords. After lunch, we explore on foot. The Jugendstilcenteret, the Art Nouveau Museum, is housed in a beautifully preserved building with turrets and stained glass. Inside, we learn the story of the fire that nearly erased the town and the vision that resurrected it. Black and white photos show streets in ruins, smoke rising from stone foundations. Beside them are sketches from architects, designs filled with curves, arches, ornaments. A dream, drawn and made real. We linger in the room with the old apothecary, restored to how it looked a century ago. Tiny labelled drawers, glass bottles with handwritten tags, scales and tinctures. It smells faintly of clove and old paper. Outside, the light begins to shift. The clouds pull apart just enough to let the sun reach the tops of the buildings, gilding them in pale gold. We begin the climb to Axla Viewpoint, up all 418 stone steps, each one rising gently through trees and moss-covered walls. The town falls away behind us with every turn. A jogger passes, nodding once. Farther up, the wind picks up slightly, bringing with it the smell of pine and seaweed. When we reach the top, the world opens. Ålesund is laid out below like a model, every roof glistening, every canal threading through the buildings like veins of silver. Beyond the town, mountains rise in all directions, and in the far distance, the mouth of the fjord widens into the sea. It's quiet here, but not silent. The wind moves through the trees. A seagull lands on the railing beside us. Everything feels still, yet alive. We stay until the sky begins to fade, indigo at the edges, soft orange where the clouds thin. Lights blink on in the streets below, and the water turns to glass. Descending the steps is easier, quieter. The town feels even more enchanted now, lit from within. We walk slowly along the canal. Reflections of buildings shimmer and ripple. Somewhere, a saxophone plays faintly from an open window. Dinner is at XL Diner, perched on the upper floor of a building that watches over the harbour. We're seated beside a wide window, the town glowing outside. The specialty here is klippfisk, salted and dried cod, a centuries-old tradition. It's served warm in a stew with potatoes, tomato and olive oil, rich and briny, comforting in a way that makes us think of long winters and kitchen fires. We pair it with a glass of white wine from Spain, sharp and mineral, balancing the salt of the fish. Dessert is cloudberry compote with cream, tart and soft, like summer locked in a jar. We return to Hotel Brossunde through quiet streets. The harbour is still now. Boats bob gently, lines creaking. Reflections of lamps shimmer like fireflies across the black water. In our room, we open the window again. The sound of the tide moving against the quay is constant, almost like breathing. We make tea from the small kettle, peppermint and nettle, and sip it in silence, seated on the window ledge. The fire in the lounge downstairs crackles softly. A couple speaks in low Norwegian near the hearth. A dog lies stretched before the flames. We slip into bed, the blankets heavy, the air cool, and let Ålesund hold us. A town built of dreams and stone, caught between mountain and sea. We wake early, just before the sun pulls over the peaks. The harbour is shrouded in low mist, its surface flat and shimmering like slate. Our window is still open, and the air that drifts in is cool, edged with salt and pine. Below, someone moves along the dock, their footsteps softened by sea air and distance. A boat motor turns over once, then settles into a low purr. There's coffee in the lobby, served from a copper urn beside the fireplace. We take our mugs down to the quay and stand for a moment in the morning hush, steam curling from the rims, gulls arcing silently overhead. The scent of brine, kelp and cold rock mixes with wood smoke from some invisible chimney. We head out early, crossing bridges and winding along the water until Ålesund blurs behind us and the landscape begins to rise. A short drive or ferry, whichever way we choose, takes us toward Jørundfjord, one of Norway's lesser-known fjords, nestled between towering snow-dusted peaks. The route hugs the coastline, then cuts inland where the cliffs begin to steepen. The village of Sabo is barely more than a scattering of cottages, a dock and a cafe. But it feels like the centre of the world. Mountains lean protectively over the water, and the fjord lies like a great, polished mirror. The light here is diffused, slow to shift, making everything feel timeless. We stop at a small cafe by the water, where the windows fog softly from within. Inside, a woman offers hot cinnamon buns and black coffee. We sit by the glass and watch the fjord drift past, silent, heavy, perfect. The coffee is strong, the bun still warm at its centre, flecked with cardamom. Then it's on to the water. We take a small boat, just us, the guide, and the hush of the morning. Or perhaps we paddle ourselves, kayak blades dipping rhythmically into the glass-like surface. Either way, we glide silently through the fjord, cliffs towering on either side, their reflections blurring the line between sky and water. We pass waterfalls cascading in long, slow ribbons. We pass clusters of trees clinging to rock. We pass nothing at all. This fjord feels sacred, not in a religious sense, but in the way that untouched places always do. We dock again and wander the edge of the village. There's an old red boathouse where nets are hung to dry, and beside it, a narrow dock that stretches into the fjord, like a finger testing its depth. We sit at the end of it and say nothing for a long while. Even our thoughts seem quieter here. By midday, we're back in Ålesund, walking the quay near Skateflua. The sky has shifted again, clouds pulling apart like wool, revealing slivers of blue. The boats are more active now. Fishermen mend nets. Crates shift from deck to dock. Seabirds wheel above, crying to each other in long arcs. We stop at Risk Cafe for lunch, a quiet spot near the harbour where the soup is always fresh and the bread still warm. We order fish soup thick with leeks and potato, topped with a swirl of sour cream and dill, and served with thick slices of brown bread. It tastes of wind and water and comfort. The afternoon stretches open before us. We walk slowly through the residential streets, where the Art Nouveau buildings rise like pastel waves, each one with its own balcony, its own curve, its own iron railing shaped like a leaf or flame or fish. Just before the edge of town, we arrive at the Atlanterhavsparken, the Atlantic Sea Park. It's built low and wide into the rocks, its walls made of stone and glass, hugging the coastline as if it grew there. Inside, it's cool and dim. Tanks stretch from floor to ceiling, filled with the green-blue light of the North Sea. We move through the exhibits slowly. A school of cod swims silently above us. A halibut the size of a door glides past. Jellyfish pulse in a darkened room, glowing softly like ghosts. The only sound is water and footsteps. We pause to watch seals circling a deep pool. One stops to look at us, then dives, trailing silver bubbles. The scent of salt and stone follows us outside. Behind the aquarium, there are walking trails along the coast. We follow one, stepping carefully over stones, letting the ocean wind tangle our hair. It smells of open sea here, clean, wild, endless. The late sun begins to stretch the light again, turning the edges of the world gold. Dinner that night is at Bro, a Nordic restaurant set above the water. The dining room is modern but warm, wood, linen, iron. The waiter tells us the tasting menu is built around the sea. We say yes. The dishes arrive one by one, like poetry. Raw scallops with sea buckthorn and shaved ice, buttered langoustines on barley with parsley oil, smoked mackerel with pickled rhubarb. Each bite is delicate but deep, as though someone took the entire coastline and reduced it to flavour. Between courses, we sip aquavit infused with fennel and seaweed. It burns slightly, then warms. The final dish is a sorbet made of spruce tips, bright and bitter and almost sweet. It tastes like wind through pines and fog on the fjord. We walk slowly home. The town is quieter now. The day has folded into itself. The fire is still lit at Hotel Brosunde. We sit nearby with mugs of tea, too content to speak. A man plays slow piano in the corner, something minor and drifting. Upstairs, the harbour is dark again, but full of presence. We leave the window open, the sounds of water and ropes and the faint cry of gulls moving in and out of sleep. And we drift, not quite asleep yet, still floating somewhere between fjord and firelight. The sky is clear when we wake, pale blue stretched thin like linen pulled tight across a frame. The harbour is quiet, its surface smooth and silver. Even the gulls are slow this morning, their cries fewer, more thoughtful somehow. From the window, the islands beyond the town shimmer in the early light, low and green against the wide horizon. We pack slowly. There's no rush. The kettle boils. We sip black tea in the window alcove and watch the tide shift, carrying the boats in a gentle lean. The sound of ropes creaking, wood brushing wood, soft water. This has become the rhythm of our mornings. We check out with quiet thanks and step into the open air. Our coats are buttoned against a breeze that carries the scent of dried fish and heather. The sun is rising higher now, painting the buildings in gold. Shadows stretch across the cobblestones. Today we leave the mainland behind for a final time. The road to Godoya bends westward, crossing bridges that feel like they were placed here just to bring us closer to something secret. The landscape unfolds in quiet layers: sea, sky, stone, sheep-dotted fields, and the occasional white clapboard house with a puff of smoke curling from its chimney. Godoya feels old. The island doesn't announce itself. It just holds you. We drive slowly, windows down, the wind cold and perfect. Around a curve, the ocean appears, sudden and vast. The Alness lighthouse rises in the distance, red and white against the green hillside, standing watch at the edge of the continent. We park at the base and walk the last stretch. The grass is thick with dew. The wind off the water is stronger here, pulling gently at our scarves, moving in our sleeves. The lighthouse is small, simple, beautiful. Inside, the wooden stairs creak as we climb. At the top, glass windows reveal an endless stretch of water. The sky touches the sea in every direction. Below us, waves crash softly against black rock, rhythmic and ancient. There's a small cafe next to the lighthouse. We step inside and find warm cinnamon buns pulled fresh from the oven. We eat at a table near the window, the sea just beyond, steaming mugs of coffee in our hands. The bun is sweet and soft, the sugar crisp on top. The coffee is dark and strong. No music plays, just the sound of wind outside and the faint tap of mugs on wood. Afterward, we walk the coastal trail just beyond the lighthouse. It weaves along cliffs and through pockets of wildflowers and wind-beaten grass. The ocean here feels different, closer, deeper, like something alive and dreaming. We don't speak, we just walk. At one point we stop and sit on a boulder worn smooth by wind and salt. The horizon stretches out in every direction. The only sound is the wind and the sea, and the occasional croak of a raven passing overhead. If it were summer, we might dip our toes in the icy water. But today, we're content just to breathe it all in, to let this far edge of the world hold us one last time. By early afternoon, we return to Ålesund. The drive back feels shorter, quieter. We cross the bridges again, the town reappearing in soft layers. Peaked rooftops, ship masts, gulls floating high above the spires. Lunch is at Sjöbua, a harbourside restaurant built of wood and glass, perched just over the water. We're seated beside a window where the sea sparkles beneath a clear sky. Boats pass, their wakes cutting silver lines. The scent of the harbour drifts in, salt and tar and kelp. We order the fish of the day. Today it's pollock, pan-seared and set over creamy celeriac, with pickled carrots and a drizzle of herb oil. It's delicate but full of depth. Each bite reminds us of the coast, the cliffs, the air. Dessert is a small scoop of vanilla ice cream, served with warm lingonberries, tart and sweet and perfect. After lunch, we walk the skate-flua promenade one last time. The light is stronger now. The wind is soft. Children feed gulls with crumbs. A man casts a fishing line from the rocks. Everything moves gently. We pause by the water's edge and close our eyes for a moment, listening. The creak of boats, the knock of wood, the hush of distant voices, the rhythm of it all. Then we turn back toward the hotel to gather our bags and begin our slow departure. But the town doesn't pull away from us. It stays close, in the way our steps slow on the cobblestones, in the smell of wood smoke caught in our coat, in the memory of a red and white lighthouse standing at the edge of something vast. Ålesund doesn't ask to be remembered. It simply is. and we carry it with us as we leave. The sea air, the gull's cry, the glow of lamplight on wet stone. We hope you enjoyed this journey. Please follow us for more destinations, and don't forget to leave a review. It helps others find a peaceful place to drift off to. We'd also like to remind you that information in this episode may become outdated. Please verify with your own research if you plan on travelling to any of these lovely destinations. Until next time.